Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Circus Caper for the Nintendo Entertainment System. In this 1990 action platformer from Toho, you hop and punch your way through 6 carnival-themed levels to save your kidnapped sister from Mr. Magic and his circus gang. There are a swath of C-tier NES games, where you wrestle with clunky controls to make an uninspired character combat frustratingly programmed enemies across poorly rendered sets, and Circus Caper serves as a prime example of just such a game. That's not to say there isn't any fun to be had here, you just have to temper your expectations. The sprinkler in your backyard will never be the water park, but they'll both beat the summer heat and make sure the sunscreen runs directly into your eyeballs within 15 minutes. But I digress. Circus Caper revolves around navigating minimal platforms while whacking clowns, tightrope walkers, and circus critters like, tiny elephants in an endless feedback loop. It's an 8-bit gaming version of the sunk cost fallacy. You take out enemies for pastries to replenish the health you lost fighting them in the first place, which might tempt you to avoid the bad guys altogether, but you also need them for sub-weapons, which are actually well conceived in this game since they offer distinct advantages. Soccer balls can roll through ground enemies, hammers can beam flying enemies, and rotating yo-yos are good for stun-locking bosses. There are also bricks, and as much as I'd like to hurl them at every one of those annoying barrel clowns, they're just booster platforms. So a lot of your time in this game is spent farming for the right items, which wouldn't be so bad if poor Timmy didn't have to contort into the world's most painful-looking backbend to use his low kick. Stop that while you can, Timmy, or you'll end up with a garbage back by your mid-20s like me, and it'll hurt just getting up to pee in the middle of the night. But you can always break up the pain and monotony with a minigame. Each level has doors to bonus rooms, where you can test your skills at fire jumping with a bear, boxing with a kangaroo, and even stretching with the one and only king of the monsters, Godzilla. Now, I can't touch my toes, but it turns out he can't either. Just when I thought I couldn't love Godzilla any more than I already do, our bond deepens through mutual failings of basic physicality. The controls in this game are serviceable, but definitely not refined. Your jumping, punching, and kicking just aren't tight enough to counteract the questionable hit detection and unwieldy enemy patterns, like the swooping clown faces that are somehow too high to punch and too low to duck under. It's the age-old story of the low door frame and the tall guy looking the other way. Nobody wins. Aesthetically, I appreciate the consistent carnival theming throughout the whole game. Every song, environment, and enemy feels well placed in the circus setting. Except maybe the snakes. Who thought it was a good idea to bring snakes to the carnival? Clowns are scary enough on their own. Please do not give them snakes. But as I was saying, the graphics here are the most inspired part of this otherwise frustrating game, especially the interstitial pixel artwork of Timmy, Judy, and the boss characters. Painful experiences are much more palatable when they're hiding behind a nice presentation. I think that's the logic behind vitamins shaped like cartoon characters. Tastes like rocks and dust, but looks like a lot of fun. The most novel aspect of this game is the White Tiger boss fight, which he himself refers to as a teriyaki battle. Here you're tasked with pressing the A button to swipe the randomly appearing meat before the tiger does, and avoid the bones that siphon your points. Not only is this, unexpected, but the pace is lightning fast. I couldn't register anything quick enough to win. That is until I realized the meat appears more frequently than the bones, so I just button mashed to swipe everything before the tiger could, and my aggregate score was inevitably in the green. And I think that's an accurate representation of the game's difficulty as a whole. With a decent feel for the controls and a fair dose of luck, Circus Caper should be manageable, even easy given the infinite continues it offers. But I just didn't have the patience for that, and I bookmarked each level and boss fight so I wouldn't have to slog through from the beginning on each credit. Admittedly, I feel lazy for using save states on a game like this, but I'd rather see it through to the end by cheating a bit than giving up out of frustration halfway through. My favorite part of Circus Caper, and by a wide margin, was the minigame cameo from Godzilla, and to a lesser extent Rodan. If I could change one thing about the game though, I'd edit the post-level cutscenes. After you beat some of the bosses, they break down in tear-filled repentance and beg you for mercy. It made me feel really bad, like I'm the villain. And they literally abducted a 6-year-old. Curse my sympathy for imaginary circus bears. Overall, Circus Caper was a game. In spite of its substandard execution, some parts were legitimately fun, and I get the sense that the designers meant well. And sometimes, that's good enough.